Live tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, LSRTV with you to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the AMSOIL 200. It is the opening round of the playoffs for the eSpeed Contender Series Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. Round number 26 on 2018, but most importantly, round number 1 of the 10-race championship fight as we welcome you into the LSRTV booth. Myself, Evan Posogo, alongside with Gary Weaver and Trevin Valderrama this evening. Big thanks to our producer Hugo Louise for bringing us to you this evening. That's a look at your championship picture headed into this evening. 16 drivers going to fight for 12 spots over the course of the next 3 races. Your regular season champion Sean Powell, though, already with a ticket into the round of 12, so it is a 15-car fight for 11 spots. We'll talk a lot about how this championship is going to work, but of course we're happy that you're with us from Las Vegas as cars head trackside, and we are set to go racing tonight in the AMSOIL 200. Let's take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid as we get rolling. The championship fight starts right here and right now. Sean Ryan on a pole position with a 30.783, the best of them all. He will lead Keith Stewart to the green flag this evening. Those 2 drivers make up row 1. Brad Neer and Malik Ray, they're going to be on row 2. Ray, of course, one of the top drivers that you also need to keep an eye on as we continue through the field. Brad Neer and Malik Ray, Brent Keith and Doug Lemons, those 2 drivers make up row 3. In the number 5 and 6 spot, it'll be P7 for Scotty Reinshield. Brandon Holder qualifies P8. And back at row 5, it is Brad Patterson and Mike Bruno.
John Burgo will take the 11th starting spot. 12th will go to Kingsbury. 13th will go to Perry Allen Stewart. P14 will be Perry Snelson. P15 will go to Gregory Thompson in the 88 machine. 16th will go to James Torrey. 17th will go to Timothy McQueen. 18th, Doc Stout. Marshall Berry will be P19, and P20 will be Timmy Longwood Jr.
And the rest of the field. Sorry, Evan, go on ahead.
We'll just continue it on through. Rest of the field is going to scroll by at the bottom of your screen. We'll let you know how you can identify the playoff drivers as well by the decal markers that show that they're a part of the Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. But we are set for 200 miles of racing. That means 133 laps around this 1.5-mile speedway, otherwise known as the Jewel in the Desert, if you will. The pace car's going to head down it in this time, and we are set to go playoff racing with the eSpeed Contender Series. Pace car down and in, and we look to get to the race start box. The field's got to stay slow as we look for the American Ethanol green flag. We are Bomb Track Fabrication Playoff Racing from Vegas. It's the AMSOIL 200, and we're going to now fight them side by side. First time to 1 and 2.
Already 3 wide in turn 2. My goodness. Already making an aggressive move. It's going to be Malik Ray in the number 23 wide off turn number 2 on the low side. Is that 04 of Sean Ryan? Then look at that. Sean Ryan now is, unfortunately, Keith Stewart is going to get shuffled back to currently 3rd. It's a battle for 2nd as they head to the start-finish line. Battle for 1st, rather.
And you can tell that the playoffs races has started because I have never seen 3 wide off the bat, but that worked out so well. This is the new series to the channel, and I am really excited to see what these guys have to offer right now. They're putting on a heck of a show. Just 1 lap into this race right now. Ray trying to track down Ryan into turn number 3. The number 9 of Neer on the bottom side going into turn number 3 and 4. Coming out of turn 4, who's going to have it? That's going to still be Ryan on the top side.
And still trying to fight on the low side. It's going to be Brad Neer, and hello with a burst of momentum comes to Malik Ray right off onto the apron as well went Sean Ryan. So already these drivers are going to be using that apron pretty early on. Then for the most part, we are relatively single file aside from almost 5th place, as that's where Keith Stewart is stuck on the top side trying to get alongside Doug Lemons for position number 4 as they enter turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're trying to figure out right now, because the track temperature is at 99 degrees now. After a few laps of these guys running on it, it will be well excess of 100 degrees. So, you got to figure out what part of the track you want to run on, what part of the track is going to be working well for you. Right now, both seem to be very equal, the top and middle line. Nobody's really gone up to that high side. We're going to see if anybody does dare go up there anytime soon, which I don't think there will be. I think it'll just wait a little bit. Right now, we got a little bit of a battle going on for that top 10 position. Right now, actually, they spread or single file out as I speak, but all the action has been done within these short couple of laps, and the top runners have single filed out.
Yeah, the only double file action is, well, as I say that, essentially almost nowhere unless you look very far back in the field. And right now I'm looking just at the number 4 and the 24, Timmy Lockwood Jr. rather. He is a playoff contender, and you can identify those drivers just by the blue numbers, blue banners, and of course the blue spoilers as well. Trying to get around some non-playoff contenders in the process, and mainly it looks like everyone else is pretty much relatively single file, trying to keep it calm and save their tires for this first portion of the race, because Las Vegas can quickly eat up your tires.
That is absolutely true. With a track like this, we've seen it on the real world side of things. It is a handful, especially with the kind of track temps that we do have set for tonight's event. And, it should be really exciting to see how these guys can handle their cars underneath them right now. And, as they go across the start-finish line, this is not a super speedway track, so you can use that apron to your advantage if you need to get to the start-finish line a little bit quicker. Right now, the number 5 of Holder used it to his advantage against Keith Stewart. Look for these guys with the blue numbers and blue banners to be aggressive early on, but not too aggressive. But as the race goes on, even more aggressive. You just saw an aggressive mood by the 27 underneath the 5 of Holder. He tried to make it sick, but it did not work out, and now he is single filed back behind Holder.
And side by side for third place now, Doug Lemons. You saw it just barely at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen as they entered the tri-oval. Doug Lemons took to the apron to get alongside the number 9, Brad Neer, leaving about 5 lanes of space. And now Brad Neer is looking, well, he's not going to look, actually. I was expecting him to look to the inside, and just behind them, but battle between Keith Stewart, like you mentioned, and Brandon Holder. Those two are still side by side as they come off turn at number 4. For now, the advantage was that number 5, Brandon Holder.
Very great racing going on early on into this 133 lap main event for tonight. You still got a lot of cars on track, nobody a lap down, nobody's pulled behind the wall, so doing well so far. You got 3 contenders going for a position spot right now for 5th place, I believe that is. And now the 7th is going to run up on that top side. That's going to be the number 7 of Stewart. And the 27, Scotty, is also going to follow that number 7 up on that top side to get positions against Brandon Holder.
And he's doing a great job right now, Trevin. And on the top side now comes Brent Keith. Sorry, wrong driver, unfortunately. That's actually non-chase contender, the number 19 of Mike Bruno. He's going to get held up ever so slightly and battle for the lead now, as Sean Ryan heads down to the inside, or rather tries to retain that inside lane, but it's not going to work out as Malik Ray got around on the outside, entering turns 3 and 4, so that's going to put the number 20 back up into the first place position.
Yeah, great job done by Malik Ray, knowing where he had to be at all times, and got around Sean Ryan and took the lead. Now you have also Doug Lemons right behind him, and then Brad Neer just a few short car lengths away. So still a lot of playoff contenders up front early on in this race. Lap 11 still mixing it up for the lead, and we're going to see a lot of mixing start to slow down as the caution is out on the speedway.
Oh, that's going to be the number 28 of Tim Marlowe on the back straightaway sideways. That is a chase contender, unfortunately, and the cause of that was actually off turn number 2. And get that replay up. It was from the 95, though, of Tyler Hayes coming across the back straightaway. So replay coming up in just a few moments. You'll see the number 95 start to slide up, and I think he went to avoid number 48, but look at that 28 from the impact, heavy into the inside wall, and that's pretty much his day done, I believe, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I had said, you look for these guys to be, aggressive, but not too aggressive. The 28 obviously just got a little bit too aggressive, and Tim Marlowe kind of wanted to balance that line of, keeping the truck under control, but also gaining some spots. And unfortunately, just went around on himself, and got into a little bit of contact as well. And unfortunately, probably the end of his night. But also, drivers are coming down pit lane right now, Gary.
And everyone's already taking the pit road with only about 12, 13 laps in. I'm going to see who decides to take how many tires, and this is going to be a key part of the race. Watching number 20 slide through his pit stall ever so slightly. It's going to cost him just a little bit of time. And for now, it looks like everybody else, though, is going to be pretty fine. Looks like no tires for the 20 of Ray, although left sides do go up. And he did get right sides, rather. So 4 tires for essentially everybody, and all the way off pit road, maybe Sean or Ryan in front, but John Verga in the 48 completely shot by everybody from position number 20.
And we talk a lot about, on Race to Race on LSRTV, we talk a lot about, you got to make sure that you do not mess yourself up on pit road, because that is what really deters you the most, other than black flags. You got to get to that pit stop cleanly, you got to get out of it cleanly, and especially running for a playoff spot and running for that championship contention, it adds so much more pressure to these guys. And unfortunately, it does get the better of some people, and we just saw what happened there.
And not sure, honestly, if I called the 48 John Verga a chase contender or not, but he is headed back to pit road. He actually didn't even pit, so maybe Tyler Hayes actually was given an EOL penalty, possibly for too many pit stalls on entry or exit. But nonetheless, though, John Verga gonna head back to pit road. But just that's the thing, is that the pit stops will be pretty important to work out here, as the lights are off on the pace car, because Malik Ray just lost that first place position on pit road. He was doing fine. He overshot his pit stall ever so slightly, and that costed him just one position. So if it doesn't cost you on track, then of course your mistakes in pit road definitely will cost you.
Yeah, absolutely. And during green flag stops, if we get to that point, this track is very easy to spin out going down pit road. I've seen it happen multiple times. I've done it myself multiple times. You just got to make sure that you're going to be able to keep it under yourself and make sure everything is smooth, because if you mess up a little bit, it's going to cost multiple seconds on track, and that's going to be multiple positions.
Yeah, you did mention pit stops. The only pit stops I've done here at this track were under caution, and never really gotten to the point of full speed cautions under green. But nonetheless, that's something I'm going to have to see if we can expect that, and more than likely we will be. This is a great field of drivers, and we're about to go green in just a few moments' time, as Sean Ryan is getting a little bit close to the number 20 of Malik Ray, and Malik Ray getting close to the L4 of Ryan. Pace car getting ready to pull off to its safety of pit road. Hard left-hand turn. Field in control of the L4. He will go early on, then a little bit of a wobble from the number 20 of Malik Ray on the restart, as the L4 brings him down into turn number 1.
The 27 of Scotty, I think, had a little bit of a mess up right there going into turn number 1. Number 19 of Bruno got into the back of him and kind of stacked him up a little bit, but all is well right now. We got a battle for the race lead. Stirring up right now, going down the Nellis back stretch, and the 04 of Ryan on that top side, Ray on the bottom side. We'll see who has better tires or a better entrance into this corner, and that's going to be the 02 or the 20 of Malik Ray, and the 04 not giving up, still trailing his back bumper going into turn number 1.
And the crossover was expected by me, but he couldn't really make it happen, unfortunately, with Sean Ryan, as the 27 of Ryan Shield has actually gotten by the number 5 of Holder, so a little bit of a small mess up on that restart. Didn't really mess him up all that much, so he is up to 4th place. Top 4 are all chase contenders, as Bruno is pretty much the only car that is not chase contender within this blanket of about 8 cars, it seems.
Yeah, and there's a good hefty amount of chase contenders in this little pack right here. A little mess up by the front 2 did bring a lot of cars back towards the front area, so got a lot more cars. Got 4 cars actually under a blanket right now. The number 5 underneath the 19, that's going to be Holder underneath Bruno for position, trying to get himself inside this little championship mix that we got up front.
Yeah, Holder trying to do the best that he can, as right now, a little bit of a side-by-side battle as Holder gets now to the inside, and number 9 is going to be on the top side. That's near. And it looks like everything will be sorted out, but it looks like that 5 will actually give him a little bit of room. Move for second place possible as 27 heads down to the inside. The 04 of Ryan takes the top side. Ray takes the low side. So a lot of drivers taking some different lines, and this is going to be very close as we come across the start finish line. Look at this, 5, 6 drivers all over the apron right now, leaving 2 on the actual racing surface. That's how many drivers think that this apron can really be used to their advantage, as right now to the 27, Ryan gets the inside of Ryan off turn number 2.
And if they are not careful, they're getting very close together. There will be absolutely calamity inside of a corner and take out a good part, because there are a lot of drivers running close together. And if they block one part of the speedway, it's going to be a bad day for these drivers. So coming down to the start-finish line, still top 3 right next to each other. The number 9 of Brad Neer falling off just a little bit because he is battling with Brandon Holder. One running that top side and one running the bottom side. So we're have to keep an eye on that. It seems pretty evened out so far, but gets a better run going off the corner. The number 5 of Brandon Holder seems to be falling back a little bit. He's lost 2 positions so far. The number 7 bringing it under pressure. That's Keith Stewart, followed closely behind by the 70 of Doug Lemons. So right now, just a lot of drivers now looking up towards the lead. Number 04 of Ryan was looking low on Ray, was not able to get a nose in there, so he's going to have to follow behind as well. Make sure he does not eat up those tires very quickly, because this could easily turn into a long green flag run.
Yeah, one moment you have the caution for about a few laps. Next thing you know, you're on the long green flag run out of nowhere that you really haven't planned for. So that's something that these drivers are going to have to plan for, even if they're trying to go for an aggressive move early on. Of course, there are 133 laps in this race, and well, we're only on lap 22 right now as side-by-side battle for 6th place, as Doug Lemons is trying to figure out, maybe going to make another 3-wide move again, but right now it's going to follow that number 7 of Stewart off the top side of the corner as Bruno gets left behind on the inside lane. Essentially a small freight train, but not really anything major, as that inside lane in the corners can sometimes help you out or break you. That's another thing you're going to have to look out for, is that the inside lane, if you get too close on that white line on the apron, then next thing you know, you're going to be going around. But look at this, a huge mid-pack battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, looking at these track times, about 4 or 5 laps on these tires were 30-second lap runs. Now, after that, it's been consistently 31-second lap runs. So, you know, you can see the amount of fall-off that these tires have so quickly. So it's going to be hard to deal with all night long. I'm going to be keeping an eye on how these guys handle these tires.
And some of these battles over in the mid-pack, actually even right now, actually, between the 19 and the 5, again, still just trying to fight each other. It's going to be both of these drivers, actually 2 different battles going on at the same time, as Lemons will fall in behind that number 7 of Keith Stewart, and Holder will get alongside and just a little bit past that number 19 and Bruno for the time being. But something else that's also going to be noted, if these drivers are going to be using the apron every few laps, you're going to have to be very careful, because the corners of the grass, just when they come off the exit of the tri-oval, that's going to be very, very dangerous if they somehow accidentally misjudge their momentum and then the left side tires clip the grass. That's going to be a major, major problem for them if they do run into that.
Yeah, it absolutely will, and you got to make sure that you're running right on that ragged edge of, you know, in control but out of control at the same time, and you know, just got to make sure that you're not really pushing it that hard, because you do know that you have a lot to lose here in this first round of the playoffs. But Malik Ray currently starting to pull a gap. It was 0.3 seconds last time. It is now 0.4 seconds this time by. So we can start to see the amount of tire wear that we have going on. And right now, Scotty is pressuring Sean Ryan from afar, but he's keeping himself inside that rear mirror of that number 04 machine.
And Scotty Ryan's trying to do the best that he can to essentially pressure him, like you mentioned, just not as close as he wants to, more than likely. But right now we've had this huge gaggle of cars for a little bit of a while, about 5 cars battling for essentially 4th place. Just they're not really battling side by side, they're battling single file and trying to decide what momentum works out best for them for these 5 drivers. are in the playoffs. And unfortunately, Bruno is not one of them. Spin on the apron, it seems, a little bit from earlier. And there is actually a chase contender in pit row, but that's still Marlowe from earlier. So not sure who spun out early on the apron, but nonetheless, we still stay green.
Staying green is an important part of this race. You know, you got to make sure that each and every one of these guys has a fair chance to, run themselves out and maybe even get a green flag pit stop to show who can get under control the most going down into that tricky pit lane. But right now you see a great deal of the separation between the low line, the middle line, and then the high line as well. The little tap of the number 5 brings, I believe that's Doug Lemons, to that inside grass,
wow.
Able to keep it under control so amazingly. Only lost a spot. So great job done by him. That could have been so catastrophic for himself, but great job done by Doug Lemon, and that might have saved him a championship run.
More than likely, replay up on your screen. I think he actually lost 2 spots as there's a tail end of that coming through the grass. And here it is off turn number 4, just that small little tap. And you'll see the inside. There he goes, trying to hang on to it. Very smooth on the steering wheel as well. So he just decided to lay off the throttle and keep it going as much as he can. Because that's the thing, if you're starting to spin out, always lay off any pedals then. First get under control, and well, that's exactly what Doug Lemons did. Only lost 2 spots out of that, and he's still going forward within the top 10.
Going forward indeed, so just have to bounce back a little bit and try to recuperate himself, but great job done by him nonetheless. We have a little bit of a battle shaping up behind the number 7 of Keith Stewart. Now 3 wide across the stripe, the number 19 of Bruno on that bottom side. We're going 3 wide into turn 1. We'll see how this turns out. The number 5 of Holder will back out and bring Keith Stewart right up in front of him on that top side. So now the number 19 does a shift all the way from the bottom to the top to make sure that that 7's run does indeed stall out before corner number 3, and that's a great job done by the number 19.
I think Bruno's trying to say, hey, even though I'm not in the chase, I still want to race up here with you guys. So it is, of course, still a fair game, and Bruno is definitely doing an amazing job at that. I believe he's actually the only the only non-playoff contender that isn't in the top 10. And well, speaking of that, there's going to be a little bit of an attempt from Keith Stewart trying to use that low lane, but right now, really not a lot of momentum as the lead is still a little bit, pretty much a large gap, almost a second. As Trevor mentioned earlier, it was about 0.4 seconds, but now it's really, really widened out as you saw Keith Stewart taking the low lane, Holder taking the top line. So essentially pretty calm up here in the top 7, and then 8th on back is essentially a huge battle for every single position on the racetrack.
Yeah, it is, and great job done by these drivers to keep it green this long. Taking another look at the track times, and now a good steady run of 31 second laps. Now we're starting to get into that 32 second margin. So over the course of this restart that we've had, it's about 15 laps. You can see the tire degradation and just how hard it is to handle these cars with a tire wear like this. And great job done by these guys to keep it underneath themselves, especially with the amount of cars that we have here tonight. About 29 cars still on the lead lap. Tim Marlowe, I believe, is the only one who has a little bit of a trouble. I believe he's still on pit road, or he has disconnected, but great job done by all of these guys. I'm really liking all this racing going on right now. Ray has pulled a 1.2 second gap on Ryan, so that just goes to show how hard these guys are racing.
And no doubt these drivers racing as hard as they can, as a little bit of a pass about a couple of laps ago between Brendan Holder and Brad Neer. Holder made his way by Brad Neer a couple laps ago off turn number 4, used the apron to his advantage, and then got in front of Brad Neer, and since then he's been creating a little bit of a gap. But also another pass with Sean Powell going by Keith Stewart, who's either starting to slowly fall off or save his tires. Either way, though, he's trying to do whatever he can, and he's got about a good number of cars behind him, and I can see at least estimating about 7 of them almost directly in his mirror. Most of them using the apron at some point or another.
Yeah, these guys are going to continue using this apron, throughout the whole entire race. It gives you a little bit of an extra way into themselves, but you got this great pack going on right now, being led by the number 10 and the 88, or is that the number 70? Doing a great job recuperating, still up in that top 10. The 88 of Gregory Thompson, though, does indeed pass him, but we have a slow car. It's Keith Stewart on that top side. Unfortunately, we'll have to see what happens with him, but P2 right now, good battle going on up in front of that whole entire gaggle. So these guys running both different lines, so we'll have to see how this works out for both of them.
And just a lap ago, during that little bit of battle, the closest that the 27 has got, I thought he was going to make a move, rather. But he did not, unfortunately. He was going to make a move for second place. And right now, he's just trying to, again, put some pressure onto that 04. He's doing an amazing job at that. As, again, he's just still riding on the back bumper. Maybe trying to get Sean Ryan to look in his mirror a little bit too much and then end up making a mistake. And there it is, a little bit of slow momentum to the inside. Off turn number 2 comes Ryan Shield. Down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4, completely separate lines by both of these drivers. And then a crossover attempt, nope, same line actually, will be opted by the 04, and Sean Ryan will reluctantly, no doubt, accept that third place position, but also gratefully, as these tires are more than likely about to fall off, and Scotty has just saved a little bit of those tires enough for that pass off turn number 2.
Yeah, and I think the 04 just knew that Scotty had him beat going into number 3, so he let him go on that top side rather than fighting for position, because if anything did happen, it could spell disaster for both of their championship contention runs. So, you know, Scotty did such a great job keeping his mirror full, and that's exactly what he wanted to do. Got a little bit of a bobble going off of turn 2. Scotty saw his chance, he took it, and now we are here, and great job done by Scotty to keep that persistence onto the 04 machine. But now we'll have to see how he works himself through this little gap that he has between Ray and himself, so keep an eye on that while we look further back in the field.
Yeah, he's going to have to, again, maintain that gap like you mentioned, and back through the field, about 8th place was a little bit of a battle for between Gregory Thompson and Kerry Allen Stewart, and the 88 got the upper hand of that at the start-finish line as he'll make his way from 8th to 9th, or sorry, 9th to 8th rather. And just at the very tail end of this battle, rounding up the top 10 here, is actually going to be Matt Kingsbury in the 21. Just watching this battle going on in front of him, we haven't really seen much of some of these playoff contenders, but then again, most of them are either just barely mid-pack. And speaking of which, James Corey making a move for 16th place on Timmy Logwood Jr. Any of these positions can easily be beneficial for some of these drivers that are on the outside of the cut line at this moment in time.
Yeah, and we still have a couple more races to go in this first round, which will be played out at tracks like Richmond and then Charlotte. So really excited to see the rest of those 2 races going on in the next coming weeks, so stick around for that. Again, this is a new series, and we are going to broadcast the final playoff races that we have here on the schedule. So if we want to stick around and watch all of these over the next coming weeks, it's going to be a fun one, always ending at Homestead, Miami. So going to be a great race to watch. And as now the number 9 is going to get a little bit out of the groove, that's going to be Brad Neer. Was fighting with the 88 of Gregory, but now is going to be fighting for position against Kingsbury. That's another playoff contention driver, you can tell by those numbers.
Down 27, the Sky Roundshield just made his way by Malik Ray in turns 3 and 4. And timed that perfectly, as some of these drivers are going to be slowly starting to come up on some lap traffic. And with this track as a replay for that pass comes up down the back straightaway, you see that number 27 making that move, perfectly positioning that. And you can see how soon that Malik tries to get to the inside. And as of right now, rather, he's actually doing a great job holding off second place for the time, or third place rather, third and fourth, and that's Ryan and Bruno for the time being. Scotty Roundshield already going to make his name known. We saw him make a pass. Speaking of passes, goodness gracious, everyone's making a little bit of an attempt right now, and Bruno wants to break into the top 3 for this race, and looks like the 04 of Ryan will let him by.
Yes, he will. Ryan knows that he doesn't really have the tires left to fight as much as you see him sideways, going all the way down to the apron. Now going to be coming onto pit road. I'm not sure if that was just his quick decision right there. Gonna get slowed down for that pit speed. I don't know if he was planning on doing that or if he saw himself sliding, so he thought he would go down pit road right now. But nonetheless, he is down pit road right now, and we'll see if he can get himself into that box cleanly.
Yep, riding on board as on track. Looks like Ray will let the number 19 by, and as you see, Sean Ryan does make a clean stop as exiting pit road just in front of him will be Brad Neer in the number 9. So essentially good timing, and I'm not sure if that was actually planned by Sean Ryan aside from the last second. He saw, like you mentioned, he saw himself sliding in to decide, you know what, I might as well just come into pit road anyway. It was done so right then. So a little bit of a small change for the top 3 as mentioned, but right now everyone else trying to slowly retain their position. Hello, number 21, Kingsbury. He was 10th a few laps ago. Now he's in position number 7, working over the 5 for position number 5, actually position number 6.
And if you keep an eye on these two guys that just came out of pit road, you're going to be seeing the absolute speed difference between these two guys and the likes of Ray, Powell, Thompson, Kingsbury, all of these guys that still have older tires. You're just going to see them blow by them, and that's going to make very dangerous mixture of cars between slow and very fast. You can already see Sean Ryan making passes on these cars right in front of him. You see almost gets into the back end of that number 4 machine. You can just see the difference of speed happening right here, Gary.
And more than definitely a large difference of speed. We'll compare some lap times actually, since Sean Ryan's currently, even though he's in 25th as he crosses the start-finish line, still scored 25th. So that time around is a 31.331 as compared to pretty much the leader at this point, or in this case Mike Bruno. So he's going to be making his way up, 32.42. Right now, Mike Bruno going to be making his way to the lead, takes it to the apron at the start-finish line. It was really close, but still, number 27 had the lead at the line, but on track position that says otherwise as Bruno makes his way by in turns number 1 and 2 up onto the back straightaway. And Mike Bruno is now in the lead, the first leader, I believe, actually, that is not in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's such a great thing to see these drivers save their tires and make a little bit of a run longer than the other drivers, because I think it's been a couple laps since those two drivers came out. I believe it was Ryan and can't remember the other one, but it just is such a great job. You're seeing such different strategy on when to pit, who's pitting when, trying to do an uppercut, trying to just stretch this as far as they can. Just trying to do everything that they can to keep them in contention to win as the 27 of Scotty, slowing up a lot, and the number 19 of Bruno as well.
Yeah, here comes Sean Powell in the 41. The only driver to stay out of that was Malik Ray, and hello, heavily on the brakes with Sean Powell. He barely saw that. He's trying to get down to that 50-mile-an-hour speed, and he did just in time.
And Malik Ray staying out on the track might be a little bit of a risk, might be a little bit of a gamble. I understand we're in Las Vegas, but it might be too much of a gamble, because the longer he's going to stay on track is the longer he's going to go a little bit further down. And just as I say that, he will be coming down pit lane right now. Going to try and get it slowed down, sliding his tires. You can just tell how hard it is to come into this pit lane, Gary.
Yeah, this pit lane coming in at speed is insane, and somebody else was locking up the brakes. Everyone's going to be there's going to be a lot of tire marks at the beginning of pit road here, as Doug Lemons also was locking up his brakes. So again, this is another key part of this race, is that if you are doing great on track, you just have to do even better in pit road. Pit road is pretty much essentially, I believe, is what they call the race within the race, and somehow Matt Kingsbury has stayed out in the lead as of right now, as some of the other playoff drivers are making their way out of their pit stalls right now. Brent Keith is also one of them. Doug Lemons, who slid into the entry of pit road, he'll make his way out of pit road and get back on to the raceway.
Yeah, and all these guys are still cycling through pit stops. We have cars are lap down until P16, so you can see a good amount of drivers still have to pit. Kingsbury going to be pulling down right now. It's going to give Everett Lane the lead. If he does not pull down, he's going to pull down as well. So Brad Patterson, he will not stop. He will keep going. So you're starting to see the kind of drivers that was able to save going on into this green flag run, and maybe if it might be beneficial towards them towards the later parts if they can save it as well, and then the same thing happens towards the end of the race. He's going to have a good car. He's going to have a great chance to win this race, and Brad Patterson is not even a playoff contender. You see another car with fresher tires and going around him on that bottom side. Just such difference in speed, Gary.
And these new fresher tires are going to be pretty much the bane of some of these drivers' existences, as right now across the line, that driver is Sean Powell on the 41, 31.082 versus Brad Patterson's 32.751. And right now in the back straightaway and entering turn number 3, for 7th place is going to be Bruno, flying by the number 7 is Stewart for position at number 6.
Yeah, great job done by all of these guys. A few more cars have yet to pit. Brad Patterson, Doc Stout, John Verga, and I believe it's Timothy McQueen, and then Sean Ryan, technically, quote-unquote, the leader, because I believe he was the first one to come down pit lane. Let me check on Timothy McQueen's lap times right now. Yes, he has not come down yet, but he is starting to get that 33-second range, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to hold on to his car and hold on to that gap that he has between, as just as I say that, Timothy McQueen into the wall on that turn number 1. Safer barrier, able to keep it off the wall for now. Timothy McQueen going to be able to try to limp it to pit road.
Yeah, if this isn't a sign to head to pit road, I believe, well, if that wasn't a sign, then not really sure what is. And unfortunately for McQueen, just under him came Timmy Logwood Jr., currently scored 24th. So unfortunately, McQueen's going to have to limp it around for one more lap, and that right front tire is more than likely shot out at this point. So as he enters turns 1 and 2 again, more than likely a little bit slower than the last time around, he will carefully head back to pit road.
Yeah, great job done by Timothy to continue to battle through and, just continue to, just fight for that spot. He's doing such a great job keeping it out on the track right now. He's going to stay out another lap throughout this green flag pit cycle. So, just going to be really difficult to see how long he, continues to stay out there and hold on to that lead. Now, Evan, what are you starting to think about Timothy, and how do you think his car is handling for himself?
Well, I think at this point, you're certainly talking about somebody who's committed to that strategy of staying out. Of course, you've seen a majority of the field come down pit road as we continue to work through this first cycle of green flag pit stops, almost complete. Now you're going to start to see those trucks get back to the lead lap as they continue on those fresher tires to get around. But I think if I'm McQueen here with damage, he's really trying to stretch this out, and I think looking for a caution flag maybe, to get himself into a position where all of a sudden he can pit with a limited amount of lead lappers, whereas if he comes down and pits now, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt either way. I think it's just one last swing of the bat for the 33.
Sorry about that. Just off turn number 4. Goodness gracious, there was a little bit of a 3-wide move between 2 lap cars and the 41. Goodness gracious, the 41, and currently off turn number 2 is going to be the number 7 of Keith Stewart.
He nearly spun that car into turn number 2. He does do a good job of recovering and hanging on. Keith Stewart, big slide, came into this evening without the benefit of bonus points, without any wins on the regular season. He could not afford a bad evening tonight. And of course, you can identify all of those playoff drivers with that teal color. The numbers, of course, the splitters and the spoilers makes it very easy to identify who your playoff drivers were. Great recovery, because if he ends up at a fence, that is going to be a big hole dug in the opening round of the playoffs here. So he's able to hang on. That just goes to show you all of the chaos that takes place when you're talking about a middle of a green flag pit stop cycle, and the fact that a lot of the cars who stayed out still not coming down pit road, the likes of Stout and Verga, means that half the field's still a lap down. So it's a prolonged green flag pit cycle than I think what we would normally expect to see.
Yeah, and it's very interesting is the kind of strategy that we got going on here. Obviously, big race, first race in the playoffs, so some of these drivers might just want to hang tough and want to win this race. But interesting job by these guys and keeping it underneath them for the most part. Timothy McQueen bouncing back very quickly, still staying out on these older tires, checking to see what kind of laps he's running. He's still running that 33-second mark, as a 27 of Scotty will just blow by him for position. Now, if he stays out any longer, it's just going to get worse for him. He's already passed for that position. Now here he comes down pit lane.
He's finally going to give this one up, and the 33 is in, but it's a big slow. He's into the inside wall. Too aggressive on a pit road entry. McQueen, he pushed back up off of the flat of the racetrack there. A little bit of a late dive in, and, well, he hurt the right side of the race car when he got up into the outside of all-in-one, and now the left side of the race car is hurt also, as McQueen will limp into his pit box, and he'll get service. Curious to see, Gary, if he's going to sit down there, get damage repaired at all, but certainly his night's gone downhill in the last 10 laps.
Yeah, Timothy McQueen has been running into a lot of bad luck lately. First with the contact over in turns 1 and 2, like Trevin mentioned earlier, what we had shown as well, as I gotten up into the outside wall a little bit too high, and now this, as it completely flattens the other side of the race car, unfortunately, as Keith Stewart finally heads to pit road after almost spinning a few laps ago. And wanted to mention earlier that two playoff contenders were splitting the 42-3 wide, and well, somehow they managed to make it through just fine. And Brad Patterson now, I believe, along with John Verga and Doug Stout. Actually, no, Doug Stout is also in pit road, so now it's just going to be Bruno, Verga, and Patterson from 3rd to 1st, respectively. Those three have yet to pit.
We still wait for them to complete the cycle. You mentioned Doc Stout. He just came in now in that number 62 entry, so he is getting service now. No doubt the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel for that Toyota Tundra, and he will blend it back up onto the racetrack. We're just crossing a halfway point. We'll hold off a moment to do your midway race break until, as best as we can, this cycle has gone all the way through. We still wait for, as you mentioned, a couple of those top trucks to complete their service. 19th through 29th, still only 1 or 2 laps down, meaning those were lead lap trucks mainly before the pit stops kicked off, so we await for that to complete. And of course, you're going to have battles for position all the way throughout, but also those slow trucks up front on old tires, they're getting caught lap after lap. John Verga is very slow into P2. Patterson not much quicker in front of him, with 42 has an 8-second gap back to Verga, so that's a big plus for the 42. He's got a huge cushion right now.
Yeah, he's got a huge cushion. However, it's only 11 seconds back from Scotty and Ray, who have both pitted, and they are coming with a head of steam right now. We've been seeing these guys up front all race long, battling back and forth. Ray finally gets that position back, so we'll have to see how he's going to be able to hold him off as the 8 does go around.
Yeah, it's Doyle Lawrence to the back straightaway. He is spun, and again, turn 2 is the calamity corner. We saw Keith Stewart make a good save not all that long ago. It was not a save for the 8, as he smacked both the inside and the outside wall on the Dallas straightaway. No caution flag, and much to the dismay, I think, of Patterson and Verga, a yellow now would be great news for those drivers. But you can see when we picked up that car in the back straightaway, it was stationary on the inside of the racetrack. That was off the racing surface, so there is no caution, and we stay green. And the AMSOIL replay was a good look at it there. Quite the contrast this race so far compared to what we saw earlier in the season, Gary. There was certainly, of course, that incident earlier in this race, but the Las Vegas race from the start of the year, because of course Vegas now 2 calendar dates on the Cup side of things, and as best they can, you'll see that replicated here in the eSpeed Contender Series calendar. The opening Vegas race on the year had 9 caution flags, so certainly a lot better as the playoffs get kicked off.
And more than likely, and right now you're watching a battle between now Bruno and Malik Reyes. The 42 Patterson finally had relinquished the lead off turn number 4. Down onto the apron goes Malik Reyes at the start-finish line. That time around by point. No, caution is out. Perfect timing, 20 of Malik Reyes.
Blake Ray had just taken a race lead, and the caution flag is out. It's a spinner off of 4, and it is a playoff driver. Sean Ryan has gone around, one of your bomb track fabrication playoff competitors, and this one was not unassisted. You'll take a look on the AMSOIL replay. The 04 I don't think he got hit at all. I thought the 31 punted it after he made a mistake, but I think the replay will show you that it was a masterclass avoidance by Ryan Lang, who does not get into him, and Ryan just loses it all on his own. He's lucky he doesn't get T-boned as he spins across the racetrack, but we are back under caution, and for somebody like a Mike Bruno, patience going to pay off.
Yeah, and just looking at his lap times, he did start to have some fall-offs since that last pit stop. It was about 20 or so laps since he did pit last, and just this track heating up again, it just gets a little bit more dicey because it just gets so much harder to grip the car onto the track and harder to handle it, really, because it likes to snap loose entering turns 3 and turns 1.
And even these late afternoon conditions not helping much out. The racetrack at 102 degrees Fahrenheit, but as well Las Vegas, a very infamously slippery and slick track, not giving these drivers much of a benefit. So the pit lane is going to open, and your race leaders have the opportunity to come down to the pit lane. You'll see a couple of cars stay out, most likely the lappers trying to get your lap back. I would think that everybody's going to come down for service, and that kind of puts a nice bow tie on that pit cycle. Certainly the caution flag helped out some and hurt others, but all your race leaders headed down to the pit lane, and Malik Ray leads us in. He'll go down to pit stall number 4, the first one into the box, but he overshoots it. He's got to back up. Let's see if that costs him.
And somebody else had to back up too. I believe that was number 5. That's the second time the 20 has overshot his pit stall under caution. In comes the 04 at a very high rate of speed. He also overshoots as well. And unfortunately, it's about
so did the 9.
Yeah,
everybody.
It's about 3 or 4 playoff contenders that have already overshot their pit boxes.
Mike Bruno, the one that's clean in and out, the 19, with 4 tires and fuel, and is way out in front of Scotty Reinshield, who ends up second off of the pit lane. And then you do see Malik Ray come off of the pit lane in third. So quite the headaches for a couple of drivers, and it is a non-playoff driver out in front in Bruno, who's going to be able to, I think, lead us back to the green flag. A lot of cars stayed out. Brad Patterson stayed out, who is a lead lap car. We'll see if he does decide to come back down to the pit lane, or if he does stay out all the way through and through. That would put him to the race lead in this one, so we'll see what the decision is going to be from the number 42 team. But other than that, everybody in agreement that pit stops were necessary. Now pit road getting open for lap cars, but Patterson looks like he's staying out, wants to roll the dice here, and he will at least stay out, I think, this time to take over the race lead in this one. Always a chance he pits at the one to go, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And, these drivers all just doing different kinds of stuff, doing everything that they can to, try to mix it up a little bit because it is playoffs. So, drivers trying to get themselves into that next round by any means necessary, whether that's win or whether that's points, just making sure they are not the last 4 drivers on the playoff grid.
Now that we have crossed the halfway point, let's take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. So Brad Patterson only pitted 3 laps before the caution flag ended up coming out, so he'll stay out and go to the race lead in this one. He leads on top of Mike T. Bruno in second, Scotty Reinshield in third, with Malik Ray scored a P4, and Sean Powell, your big mover, 28th to 5th as we pace at lap number 74. Gregory Thompson is right now in the number 6 position. Doug Lemon scored in 7th position. Brandon Holder tucked in behind. He's exactly where he started in 8th. Kerry Allen Stewart's P9, and Matt A. Kingsbury rounds out our top 10.
And 11th is going to be the 05 of Marshall Berry. I believe he's actually currently on the outside looking in the playoff contendership. Everett Lane in at 12th. 13th is going to be Perry Snelson. 14th, James Torrey. 15th is the 32 of Brent Keith. 16th is going to be Sean Mulzick. 17th, Sean Ryan. 18th, Timmy Logwood Jr. 19th will be Brad Neer. And rounding out the top 20 is going to be the 85 of Paul Bliss.
21st, we'll go to Doc Stout. 22nd will be he started second, not really having a good day. He's going to have to bounce back quickly with a limited amount of laps left. That's also going to be your last car on the lead lap. 1 lap down, looking at Ryan Lange in 23rd. 24th will be Timothy McQueen. He's the one that scraped against the wall and ran a little bit longer on that previous green flag run. The 25 of James Hickson is going to be 25th. The 26th position going to go to Bobby Everhart. 27th, Damon Kleinmesser. 28th will be John Verga. 29th will be Dow Lawrence. 30th will go to Tyler Hayes, and 31st will go to Tim Marlowe.
And so far, I think all but maybe one or two of those cars still in this race. That's been a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Field going to be in the hands of the zero gravity racing entry of Brad Patterson. The number 42 stayed out. He's got the oldest tires. They aren't that old, but this will give us a very good look at just how critical fresh rubber is tonight from Las Vegas. Pace car down and in. 75 laps complete as we run to the end tonight in the AMSOIL 200. Green flag in the air. It's a good jump. That's step number one. The fight behind is going to be for second. Here comes Ryan Shield on the inside of Bruno.
A great job getting by Bruno already, and like you mentioned, those old tires that the 42 has are 3 laps old, but we'll see how old as right now. Step number 2 is just to fly away as much as possible, or at least hold off all the other contenders right now, as well, the 19 looked to the inside on the number 27 for second place, but decided against it as we're relatively single file very quickly on this restart.
Single filing things out, get the optimum line ASAP, but the 27's on the charge right now. He completed the pass on Bruno for second, and he is on the bumper of Patterson. He'll look to the inside, side by side for the race lead, as Ronshield tries to get through. Again, a win for one of our playoff drivers means that they're going to get that free ticket into the round of 12. We've already seen regular season champion Sean Powell get that advance, and as Ronshield goes to the race lead, he sets himself up, and Bruno follows him back through. Patterson all of a sudden is going to fall to third, and maybe worse, Trevin, because here comes Powell and a whole host of trucks lined up behind him.
Without a doubt, he's going to go further back right now. The number 10 has nowhere to go. Unfortunately, 88 is going to take advantage of that, using the slower car as a pick. You can see the number 70 just trying to find every which way. Now there he goes. He's going to continue to lose. You can see just the amount that the tires fall off and so quickly, and how important tires are going to be towards the end of this race if we have a late race restart, Evan, because he went backwards in a hurry.
He went the wrong direction, and it's of course not what you want. We'll see how much further down Patterson's going to slide. Again, if you don't fall too far back, even if you're not winning the race, maybe the gamble to stay out pays off. He was way back in the high teens on running position when he did decide to make that decision to stay out onto the racetrack. First side-by-side fight, a little bit further back now, single files out. It was Patterson tucking in line behind Marshall Berry, who's going to be able to get around him, so no 2x2 inside of the top 10 at the moment. But your top 2, Gary, pull it away just a tad bit. Bruno's doing a very good job of keeping the 27 honest, but those 2 trucks look like the fastest pair right now, stretching the lead over Sean Powell in third, then Thompson fourth, and Doug Lemons picks up a few in all of this. He goes to P5, but he's under attack because here comes Holder to the inside in turn 4.
Yeah, off turn number 4, it's going to be that 5 of Holder trying to use that preferred lane. Now heads down to the apron, and just like we mentioned earlier, you have to be very careful when you're running next to that grass. But for now, it's the advantage to Holder as they enter turn number 1. Then Lemons is not going to give up that fight very easily, because he fights back onto that middle lane. And on the back straightaway, there's still side-by-side advantage for now as the 70.
The 70's got the advantage. High side on the Nellis straightaway. You're able to carry a little bit more speed into the quarter down at this end of the racetrack, because, of course, it's not that tight exit off, as turn 4 leads you off onto the tri-oval here, whereas turn 2, oftentimes drivers will find themselves smacking a fence. And give credit where it's due. Holder very aggressive on the inside. He was using the flat of the apron to stay there, but I think you can only hold that very inside for so long. The bumps in the very low line on both sides of the racetrack, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, a major challenge. Of course, the bumps have gotten worse over the years. This Las Vegas Motor Speedway scan, a couple of years old at this point, so it's not as bad as it could be, but you can see the 5 struggling with that, and he'll end up losing out the fight to Lemons and Berry, so Holder falls to P7.
Yeah, and just watching the track temp rise over the course of this race, it was 98, 99 at the start of this. It's gone up to 102. It doesn't seem like a big jump, but on the tires, it hurts it so much because it's just blistering them away, and it's just making it so much harder to handle, especially on those bumps that you have seen, or that you mentioned, Devin. And they started the race at the bottom, and now they're starting to move up a little bit. I'm starting to see a lot more cars start to move that middle high lane, so we're starting to see a lot of guys start to move around the track. So, you know, gotta watch them.
You certainly got to keep an eye as well. P8 on the back here. There's a lot going on. Matt Kingsbury in the 21 is in front, but it is a mess behind him. We got Perry Snelson, Everett Lane, Kerry Allen Stewart. These drivers, I think, tighter packed together as they head into turn 3 than the field was coming to the restart. It's been 2 by 2 by 2 for some time, and out inside a move by Kingsbury. He tries to get around Patterson. Patterson continues to slide, and he could very well be outside of the top 15 in no more than a handful of laps. And look how much this part of the racetrack's been held up. It is a ton of 2 and 3 wide here as the 42 slides back on the outside. These guys have really been long jammed here, about 4 seconds off of the race leaders here mid-pack.
Yeah, all these drivers have been battling multiple laps for a while, and a few laps ago, actually, Kerry Allen Stewart in the 56 slid down accidentally into the 24 of Everett Lane, so that's more than likely not going to be going over too well in the number 24 camp, but of course that's the thing that you have to deal with sometimes. Not sure if the 56 went to move low on the inside to make a move for position, but nonetheless, they did make a little bit of contact early in Everett Lane now, battling side by side with Brad Neer for that 12th place position.
12th is where that fight is right now, and it's near into the Bernard machine to make it a dive to the inside of the racetrack. He was able to clear Everett Lane that time down in 1 and 2, so he's certainly on the move in that number 9 Chevy. And for the guys in front, you know, Stewart, Snelson, they're able to kind of break away and get some separation. If you're behind this 2x2, though, it doesn't really look like there's relief anywhere in sight. Look at the 24 Machine Lane way on the inside. The 15 of Sean Molzik basically just tracing his line down on the inside of the racetrack. No shortage of excitement here in the low teens.
Number 4 nearly gets into the back of the 42 of Patterson. He's the one that he started a little bit with bad tires on that restart. He's found some people who, or has held on to the people who have about the same kind of tires that he has on, able to fight a little bit harder. But the 42 had a better entrance into that corner now. The number 24 of Everett Lane going to be on that bottom side, able to get a little bit better head of steam. Now the 42 is going to fight back on that top side, the 4 as well. That's Logwood on that top side as well. And we're just seeing a lot of different lanes prevail here. It's a great battle going on right now for these positions, and just really exciting to see this kind of battle, especially for this first opening playoff race.
And the bias might be inherent, but I love this racetrack, the multi-groove racing that you can see. And if you're taking a look right now, how about 3 wide? It's Malik Ray up the inside. He was leading this race not all that long ago. And after the pit stops and a caution flag, he is mid-pack and in the fray as he tries to follow, looks like the number 32 of Brent Keither on the inside. He's going to get tight. So the 24 goes high, and looks like that 20 Machina Ray is going to follow him up there as well. We'll continue to watch all of this mid-pack. Should tell you, though, that a battle for the race lead is brewing. Sean Powell has closed in significantly from 3rd. He and Bruno only a couple of tenths off for your race leader. It's not a fight yet, but as you can see, and of course the interval's at the top of the screen there for you, it's getting close, so keep that in mind. We'll keep a half eye on your race leaders as we continue to watch all of the excitement all the way through the pack here as we take lap number 90.
You are correct, Evan. I've been watching this for the past few laps as well, and haven't really seen anything major as of right now, but that may be changing in just a few laps' time. Up to 41, and Powell does get impatient. He doesn't really have anything to race for, as he's already locked into the round of 12, but right now he may want to deter that little momentum that the number 27 does have, but I don't think that Powell really wants to risk it. Maybe that's why he hasn't really made a move as of right now for that position. But just a little bit farther back, though, for position number 6, it's going to be Doug Lemons now no longer under attack, and now attacking the 5 of Brendan Holder. I feel like these two have already been battling each other for pretty much ever since the restart, just not directly, but now it will be directly. But unfortunately, though, Lemons does get the bad end of that battle as he falls from 6th to 7th.
You certainly have those nights where it just seems like you can't get away from somebody, and the Express Motorsports entry of Doug Lemons has certainly had his hands full with the number 5 of Brandon Holder in front of him. Always extra fun when you can't get away from somebody and they're not your teammate. Sometimes you get stuck with a couple of cars you're friendly with and it's all fun and games. But in the playoffs, when you're racing against the competitors, certainly I think it's that little bit more exciting that makes this racing what it has been. And what a great race so far that we've seen to this point. And again, I still think we're a pit stop away from being able to go to the end, of course, with tires being at the premium that they have, and that's going to be the case. Battle for the race lead, though. Here we go. Mike T. Bruno to the inside on Scotty Reinshield. It's 4P1. It was a bad exit at a turn 4, and now the 27 has to defend as the 19 goes to the inside all the way through the corner, 2x2, and he'll rocket off of the banking and defend his lead. But the 27 feeling the heat now as Bruno and Powell want to go at it.
And another little bad exit by Reinshield on that top side. The number 19 able to get to basically the quarter panel, and let's see where he comes out on to turn number 1. He's going to be side by side going into turn number 1. 41 of Powell tracking right behind number 19, trying to get in front of the 27 as well. The number 19 has been tracking Reinshield all night long. So, just great job done by this. And now, there we go, for the lead. He's going to slide up right in front of the number 27. 41 trying to do the same thing with Pete Near him. Doesn't matter. He's going to stay on that bottom side. It looked like he was going to pull up in front of that number 27. But unfortunately, just one lap, Evan. That's all it takes to go from first to third.
And it wasn't even one of the bigger mistakes. You just missed it a little bit. You mentioned that bad entrance and exit out of 3 and 4. They kind of go hand in hand. You're a little bit too hot into 3. You can't get into the gas out of 4. And Bruno and Powell tag team up, and they go now to first and second. I don't think Reinshield's done here. I think he was feeling the pressure, and I'm going to be curious to see if the 19 and the 41 can pull away. But Sean Powell, I think, is in a great spot because he didn't have to do the hard work. We saw Bruno dive low. It not work, and then him have to fight back down to the inside. The 41's just been following him. That AMSOIL Toyota, I think, is in a great position. If I'm Sean Powell, I'm happy where I am right now. He just needs to keep Bruno within striking distance, as it looks like he'll be able to pull just a little bit on the 27.
Yeah, just a little bit of a distance on the 27, and the track temperatures now went from essentially from the start of this race from 99 to what is now 103 degrees. So that's pretty much by the end of this race, we should be reaching about 104, 105, and winds blowing just pretty much right where these drivers are heading now, in the middle of turns 1 and 2, heading south at 9 miles an hour. Doesn't sound like much, but on fresh tires, it could be helping some drivers out a lot. Just depends, but right now, though, back to the possible battles that Reinshield, he could maybe just decide to let them run away with this lead, give them a false sense of hope. No, never mind. Both these drivers hanging down into pit row. It's going to be Bruno and Reinshield.
And Bruno does a great thing, I think, Trevor. You don't want somebody to undercut you, so pit from the race lead. Mike T. Bruno kicks off the pit stops. That should be able to get all these drivers to the end of the race as he comes in at lap number 98. And I think in an equally as smart move, following him immediately down pit road was Reinshield. So I think we're certainly going to see Powell respond ASAP, but I think the rest of the field's going to have to come down shortly also.
Yeah, and both of them got into their pit boxes very cleanly, and here comes Powell down pit road as you predicted. So here he comes. We'll see how he goes into his pit stall as well. Now, as you said, you don't want anybody else to undercut you, so they came in a lot earlier than their previous pit stop, Evan. It was a couple laps. They were still in the 32-second margin. You usually see them come down 33, 34-second margin. Sean Powell into his pit stop cleanly. Now he just has to get out and see where he cycles through.
And this is where it gets kind of chaotic because, especially in that last example, this is our second cycle of green flag pit stops on tonight, Gary. On that last one, what we saw was the fact that, so many drivers stayed out for so long, they eventually got that yellow. You're going to be sitting down a lap for so long. Now, the benefit of leading is, of course, you're not going to lose as much time, but if we see the same thing, and I think we will, this late in the race, some drivers might try to stretch as long as they can, then we're going to have a ton of guys a lap down, and not everybody is going to agree. Now, if you're the fast cars, yes, you have to pit, and we saw the very quick response from your race leader after second and third place came down to the pit lane right away, but I think that you're going to have a lot of drivers stay out. The question is going to be, who are those drivers? As Mike Bruno works around some lap traffic, Doug Lemons is also down to the pit lane. A lot of cars coming in for service. 4 tires and fuel going to be able to get you to lap 133.
And Marshall Berry, and again, this pit entry is going to be something else to watch for, as Berry almost understopped into his pit stop, but he didn't make it, though. As Doug Lemons also makes his way almost over chutes. He does not, though. He locked up the front tires, and, well, like you mentioned, like these drivers that are lapped down, they definitely will not be agreeing with this strategy, and they definitely will have to somehow find and hope that a caution comes out just in time for them so that they don't have to sit a lap down while they make their pit stops. Although some of these drivers, again, pretty much everybody will be having to be very careful in pit entry. A lot of drivers are still smoking the front tires, trying to get down from essentially 170, 160 something miles per hour all the way down to 50 within the span of about, I'd say, about a corner roughly.
As we continue to see the standings cycle through, Thompson stays out for the race lead, and Amade Kingsbury pits from second. Good as time as any. Think of a big thanks to our friends over at AMSOIL. AMSOIL specializes in developing synthetic lubricants that offer innovative answers to the greatest challenges vehicles and equipment presents. The extraordinary performance of AMSOIL synthetic lubricants in a range of markets, automotive, power sports, industrial, racing, and more, has made our influence in the industry unmistakable and our brand highly respected. Our commitment to innovation has resulted in legions of brand loyal customers. You can find your local retailer online at amsoil.com. Proud title sponsor of tonight's AMSOIL 200, and we are within sight of the final 30 laps now from Las Vegas. Only 7 trucks on the lead lap as we sit. Bruno in the 19 leads on top of Reinshield, Mosick, and Powell. So he should be the driver who would then cycle through to the race lead if everybody completes their service. But I think Thompson and certainly Malik Ray, Trevor, based on what we saw last time, those are the drivers who I think are going to really try to stretch this thing. You got Paul Bliss third, Brent Keith at fourth, and Kerry Allen Stewart fifth. Those are the drivers who have yet to come down pit road as Bruno gets back to the lead lap.
And again, you just got to keep an eye on everything going on around you. Got to keep an eye on intervals as well, because Mike Bruno will be coming in a hurry. He's 31 seconds back from Gregory Thompson, so just got to keep an eye on everything happening. Got to know when you need to pit, because the longer you stay out, again, Evan, we saw this last time as well. Just got to make sure you're keeping an eye on those intervals. The longer you stay out, tires will become a factor into this. We've seen the kind of pressure these drivers are under, and you've seen the kind of pressure that these drivers put on their tires.
And the driver's staying out at this point as an issue with Paul Bliss. The 85 is spun-ed, and he is slow on the front straightaway. I don't think he was trying to get the pit road. I think he just got loose, got tagged by the 05, and he went through the grass. Good save as that truck nearly spun right back up into traffic. The AMSOIL replay will give you a second look at that one. A close call for one of your bomb track fabrication to playoff drivers. That's really going to hurt him, and it kind of ties in with the point that I was going to make, Gary, the fact that the drivers who are staying out now are certainly hoping for a caution to flag. You saw your race leaders pit almost together, and there will be some drivers who wait a little bit to pit because they feel like, I'm willing to give up time now to have the better tires later on. But you're talking about maybe 5 to 10 laps of discrepancy here. When you're staying out 15 to 20 laps now, you're really hoping that you just get a stroke of luck. And listen, it's never bad to try to roll the dice. If you're going to finish outside the top 20, why not try something? And if there's any racetrack to gamble at, I think Vegas is the perfect place to do it.
Yeah, Vegas is the best place to do it, but sometimes, just like in, pretty much just like gambling, you gamble and you either get good luck or bad luck. And some of these drivers, unfortunately, do have bad luck, and somehow it's just never really the case for them right now. As watching Brad Neer close the gap on to Doug Lemons as they come out of turn number 4 to the inside comes to number 9, and right now, well, trying to avoid some light traffic as Lemons takes to the apron, and still just a single file for the time being, but again, still as Malik Ray's actually in second place. Look at the difference of these fresher tires right here. Just instantly blowing right by as Lemons almost gets into the outside wall off turn number 2. Here comes the 9 to the inside.
It was a close call, but here comes the number 9 machine of Brad Neer. One of the drivers who was already pitted. Look out for the 22. Almost thought that car wants to come down pit road. No, he's just that slow. 3 wide as they split the difference. That was James Hickson trying to get through. And you're looking at a battle for position between Neer and Lemons. Will they race around lapped cars in the middle of it all? That slow 88 machine on the inside, that's your race leader. That's Gregory Thompson, who on the old tires continues to stay out. That is how critical tires are at LVMS.
Yeah, and now looking at the track temperature, it was 103, now it's back to 102, so, these drivers still dealing with a hot track, so, again, just wears those tires down so much quicker, but these guys are doing such a great job holding on to their tires, or holding on to their cars so far. Doug Lemons and Brad Neer still fighting side by side. That is for also championship contention, as you can see by the numbers and the spoilers. Both blue, still running very well next to each other, very close as well going into turn number 3, Evan.
Side by side, they are down into turn number 3 with Kingsbury on the inside of the racetrack. The 05 up top side tries to fight back, and despite the fact, how poor, maybe, if you want to say, of an entry to turn 3 it was, Barry does a very good job of fighting back. These drivers now back on the lead lap as we saw them get around Gregory Thompson. 21 laps to go from Vegas next time by, and we are slowly starting to see all of this play out. I believe we still wait on Thompson, Ray, Keith, and Stewart to come down pit road. Paul Bliss also a slow driver. Mike Bruno should be the driver that will cycle through to be your race leader, assuming all of this gets completed before we get to lap 133. But with 20 laps to go, we still have those 4 or 5 holdouts like we expected. Pretty much the same drivers that did it last time.
Yeah, some of these drivers, again, like pretty much we've been talking about, is that they mention they want to gamble, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work out, and well, next thing you know, you're getting passed by somebody who is on the lead lap, and you're wondering, wait, how did I end up here? So a lot of these drivers are hoping for that stroke of luck, like you mentioned earlier, Evan, but at this point, it doesn't really seem to be the case, but you never know what could happen, and right now, some of these drivers are still managing the battle as they have a battle, well, essentially a brewing battle now, where battle that has now actually died out was between Brad Neer and Doug Lemons, who are now 9th and 10th respectively, but 12th and 13th, not far behind. It's going to be the 05 of Marshall Berry and the 21 Kingsbury. Those two may have already sorted that battle out.
You'd almost think that some of these drivers are racing like we would expect to see next week at Richmond when we go racing for the Cascade Hollow MS 200 at Richmond Raceway. A little bit of short track going on out there with all of the 2 and 3 wide that we have seen to this point. It is really just a waiting game. Even if all those cars up front can't make it to the end, I think Bruno's going to catch most of them. He's a second faster per lap. He's only 10 seconds behind Kerry Allen Stewart right now, at a difference for 4th and 5th position, and about, as I mentioned, 1 to 2 seconds faster lap, so he'll certainly catch up. But Bruno can't just have tunnel vision, because Sean Powell, after responding and very quickly coming down to the pit lane, runs right behind the number 19 machine. They are on the same strategy. Powell only about a second off right now, would cycle through to second, and I think Bruno needs to keep an eye on him. Don't let that 41 get too close.
Yeah, and that is absolutely correct, Evan. You got to make sure that you are completely aware of your surroundings. It's easy to tunnel vision at a track like this, just hitting your marks lap after lap, especially this late on into the race, and just got to make sure you're doing everything that you can, especially with a head of steam from Sean Powell. He is a playoff contender. He would love to get the first win of this playoff, and just continue to make sure that he solidifies himself into that next round and doesn't have to worry about points or anything else. I'm sure he would love to get a victory here, but separating him is a couple lap down cars, and we'll see how he works out through those. He is coming very quickly, Evan.
He's certainly catching up to him, and time is running out as he continues to close the gap. Again, a free pass into the round of 12 means you get the pie pass, the drama that we'll see at Richmond and Charlotte in the next couple of weeks. Go right to Dover. You'll be a part of the round of 12 if you are one of our bomb track fabrication of playoff drivers to win. But the way it sits now, it looks like it'll be a spoiler to cycle through. If it is indeed Bruno and the AMSOIL Chevrolet, then all of your playoff drivers would have to remain fighting for points for at least one more week. Malik Ray, again, through all of this, leading laps, and no matter where you sit on a strategy, very difficult to knock somebody who's out on the racetrack and leading laps. It is Malik Ray 1, Gregory Thompson 2, Brent Keith in 3rd, and Kerry Allen Stewart in 4th. That's going to be short-lived, though, because Bruno just now passing the 56 in heavy traffic, and maybe he was a little bit conservative 3 wide with Sean Powell up the backside. Those two cars now going to move into 3rd and 4th, and again, what we think will become the battle for the race lead.
That's essentially very, very close. It's right there. There goes to the 33 of McQueen, who almost gets in the outside wall again, exiting turn number 2. He's had enough battle today. I think he really wants to try and make sure that he can make it home this time around, and still just trying to wait for some of these drivers to have the pit road, but right now there's only 2 left. As a bit of a wobble from the 19 exiting turn number 4 there. That was pretty close, and he managed to hang on to that. It's going to be another thing is that, again, we all mentioned that tunnel vision from earlier. Again, that's the thing, is that if you hit your marks a little bit too much, you're going to become too focused. Next thing you know, you're going to be finding yourself either in the infield or in the inside wall in the back straightaway.
There's certainly a balance, and listen, a lot of the names you see on track in this eSpeed Contender Series, familiar names on the service as a couple of slow cars get a little bit frisky on the outside of 4, and I think maybe a heart skips a beat if you're Bruno and Powell. These guys know what they're doing. Some of the best you'll see in the trucks on the iRacing service. Again, it's the 26th race they've had this year. They know how to race around each other, but it is certainly a balance. You need to be locked in, knock out hot lap after hot lap, while at the same time not being too tunnel focused, if you will, and not paying attention to the rest of the cars around you. The 20 machine of Malik Ray is really trying to stretch this one through. It'll be 10 laps left to go the next time by the driver of this number 20 machine. Everybody else has either eventually gotten passed by your race leaders or has decided, all right, it's time to come down to the pit lane. The last time Malik Ray was on pit road was under the most recent caution at lap number 73 when he came in and took tires. He has not seen pit road since then, but his lap times are holding up incredibly well compared to the other drivers. Sure, he's still a half a second slower than Bruno and Powell. That's nowhere near the 2 seconds that we saw some other drivers dealing with. And now inside of 10 to go, his advantage is still 13 seconds. He can save a lot of fuel if it's remotely close, and maybe has a shot in the dark at this one. We'll have to see. Still no sign of entering pit road.
Yeah, very, very exciting stuff going on. Man, caution comes out, Evan, just as we speak.
That's what he was looking for. Caution flies at 8 laps to go. And we said you never know what could happen. And we're going to have some late race showdown here tonight from Vegas. Caution's out. The AMSOIL replay will show you it's Gregory Thompson in the 88 machine who spun going into turn 1. He was battling with Doug Lemons. That is for position. And they look like the 70 machine, just a little bit of a late arc into the corner, spun the 88 machine out, and it was a pretty hard impact for Thompson into the outside wall. Lemons, a playoff driver, doesn't really get a ton of damage in that one. Kerry Allen Stewart picks up a little bit, but all of a sudden, Malik Ray is going to be a race leader. If drivers are down pit road for tires, he's going to be on an even playing field. Pit road is open. He makes the dive down. I think if you're up front, you have to come down. But the question's going to be, Gary, how many drivers go for 2 tires? And does anybody dare stay out? Because we might only have time for 1 restart.
Well, it depends on if you want to take 2 tires or not. It depends on what the handling is as well. As we watch number 20, he's going to have a very large advantage, provided he doesn't mess anything up. He overshot his last few pit stops, and he still overshoots again, unfortunately, entering his pit stall this time. So not a lot of luck for him entering his pit stall, but again, that gap is going to be very, very useful for him, as right now it looks like both tires will be going up, and somebody had to slide to a stop into their pit stall, and that 20 is down and away with no pressure at all.
Yeah, despite the mistake, it's easy in and out for him.
Lemons.
Mike Bruno is going to be off second. Powell, Reinshield, and Holder, your top 5. You mentioned the 70 of Doug Lemons, who was way hot. He completely missed his pit box by about 2 stalls. Had to back up, get into the box. That's going to be a catastrophic pit stop for the driver who was just involved in an incident. You talk about added insult to injury. That's salt in the wounds right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this just shows the amount of pressure that these drivers are under to get everything correct here. Less than 10 laps to go. Probably going to be less than 5 laps to go once we get this restart going. And we saw what happened on the opening stages of this race. It was 3 wide for the race lead before they got to turn 1. Fantastic racing by all of these drivers to keep it underneath themselves and able to go 3 wide for about a lap and a half before everybody started to settle down. For the most part, still some 2 wide action, but I'm excited to see what kind of action we're going to have ramping up for these last couple of laps here for the opening round in the playoffs.
And what surprises me is you don't have any drivers back at the back staying out. Again, there's a chance that we get a restart with 6 to go. You go a lap, there's a caution to be run at a time to restart. So I thought somebody would have tried it, but not. Malik Ray is going to go right back to the race lead in this thing on 4 tires and has a great shot now of all of a sudden getting that free pass into the round of 12. We shouldn't be surprised that the number 20 machine has been able to pull this off. He came into the playoffs as your top-seeded driver behind Sean Powell, who has the regular season champion, got that free pass into the round of 12. Malik Ray, the second closest driver, he gets 35 bonus points courtesy of 7 race wins on the regular season, and he now has a chance to join Powell in the round of 12 if he could close this one out and go for the race win. Want to give a shout out to the folks over at Bomb Track Fabrication. Bomb Track Fabrication specializes in building custom race cars and CNC machined chassis components for both racing and the industrial sectors. All of their components are made in the USA. You can get more information on how to get free shipping and up to 5% off your complimentary first order by going online to bombtrackfabrication.com. Big thanks to them for hopping on board, the title sponsor of the eSpeed Contender Series Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. This time by a lot of race cars going to put the right foot down and to pass the pace car. The lights are out and it is 1 lap to go before we come back to take the green flag. And when we do so, Gary Weaver, it will be a 5 lap to go restart to determine who wins the AMSOIL 200.
Yes, yeah, then this is going to be a very, very exciting 5 laps, and I'm looking through about the top 10 or so, first 5 rows it seems, first 4, and we only have about 2 non-playoff contenders within that, and one of them is going to be starting right outside. It's going to be Mike Bruno, and it looks like just at the end of that will be Sean Mulzik in the 15, who's just at the end of this. But right now, what Malik Ray is going to have to do on this restart is just fly ahead as far ahead of Sean Powell as he can to stay in front and advance cleanly into the round of 12.
And the big thing here is going to be how well of a restart does Bruno get on the outside. You mentioned Sean Powell. If he can follow the 20 through, who's going to be the control truck, the 19 can get pinned back, and it could be all over for Bruno, who up until 5 laps ago is in prime position to go on and win the race tonight from Las Vegas. Maybe for the final time. Pace car down to pit road, and the field is in the hands of the number 20 of Malik Ray. He'll bring them slowly into the restart box. American Ethanol, green flag in the air. 5 laps left to go at the AMSOIL 200. He's clear. Bruno tucks in for second, and get ready for a lot of chaos as they cycle through the gears in 1 and 2.
Great job done by Ray, not letting Bruno predict when he was going to go. Perfect timing on his part, and now it's just a battle all around for other positions. 3 on back. That's Ryan Shield, Holder, Neer, and Barry still fighting for position side by side, going through turns number 3 and 4. 27 of Ryan Shield above the number 9 of Brad Neer. Still everybody battling it out, trying to single file themselves out and getting everything squared away for these next couple of laps. Evan, we might as well be in Tombstone, Arizona at high noon because we got ourselves an old-fashioned shootout in the West.
And they're 3 wide in the back of the pack as well, so everybody going no holds bar for every single position. But the top 8 or so, top 7 on the racetrack, single file, a lot of speed up towards the front of the field, or maybe the speed difference from one truck to another going to be a lot more obvious than the fray that you see mid-pack. Your race leaders just hope that they don't wreck it, as that 2 and 3 wide is mainly outside of the top 10. Next time around will be popsicle sticks in the air. Malik Ray wants to get to 2 laps to go, and I don't know that Mike Bruno's got the speed or not. Powell throws a block on Holder. The fight's going to be for 3rd on back as the 20 tries to take off from the race lead.
Brandon Holder trying to do everything that he can, and now the 41 moves up to block the number 9 off to number 4, and that's going to leave the inside lane open for possibly both of these drivers as they enter turn number 1, 3 wide for position number 3. They make contact, and around goes Brad Neer and the 41. 27 gets involved. Caution comes out.
And that is it. Neer gets tagged. More wrecking. The 7 of Keith Stewart avoids another hit, but that is a second playoff driver involved in that accident. And just like that, this thing is over. It was contact and 3 wide for 3rd. The unfortunate irony is the AMSOIL replay will show that AMSOIL 41 of Sean Powell, he got tagged by the 9. Blake Neer, I think, just got squeezed, Trevin. Wasn't comfortable at all in that limited amount of space, and they just fought for not enough real estate, and the 9 gets hit heavy. Of course, Keith Stewart a lot of damage. Those are 3 bomb track fabrication of playoff drivers involved in the wreck.
Yeah, and that just goes to show how fast these guys are racing, how hard these guys are racing, trying to do everything that they can to get every position that they possibly can. And just them already committing to a line inside of that turn. This is a track where you can't really move on going throughout the turn. You got to commit when you go in and cannot change your line. Unfortunately, the number 9 was just right in the way of another playoff driver.
Neer Powell going to get sent to the end of the longest line as we come into turn number 4. Malik Ray is going to pull this one off. A lot of speed, but a lot of strategy went into this one. A late race. Yellow groups everybody up. He goes 4 tires, and he was untouchable. Malik Ray, your winner from Las Vegas in the AMSOIL 200, and that also means that he is headed to the round of 12 in the bomb track fabrication playoffs as he gets that free pass. He and Sean Powell, the only drivers to advance so far, and they get to smooth sail for the next couple of weeks because they're in as the congratulations come as drivers pull up alongside of Malik Ray, who gets another win, and fitting that the 2 best cars all season in Powell and Ray are already into the round of 12 just after 1 week.
Absolutely amazing job by Malik Ray. I was going to mention, but I held off on it, that when he had the lead, that all he needs then was a caution, and while he did get one, then all he had to do was just slowly drive to the start-finish line, and he managed to do that. Amazing job by Ray to hold off on that restart with a 5-lap shootout. Congratulations to that number 20.
Congrats to the number 20 machine, and he's going to have some fun. He's had plenty of practice to doing these over the course of the year, but it is now finally, I think, easy to say this is the most important win of the season. Burnouts on the front straightaway for the TTC Metro entry of Malik Ray, who wins tonight from Las Vegas. The celebration continues, and it will head to victory lane, where we will catch up with him in just a moment. First, we'll take one last opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we'll recap the AMSOIL 200. You're watching the eSpeed Contender Series on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Welcome back live to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. LSRTV's coverage of the eSpeed Contender Series Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs kicks off tonight, and we'll roll into the next 9 weeks because we finally got our first playoff race out of the way as we welcome you back into the booth. Evan Pasoko, Trevor Valderrama, Gary Wheeler with you, with Hugo Luis downstairs. And what a night it was. Nowhere near the Las Vegas we saw in the spring. Only 2 yellows on this one. A lot of strategy. 3 yellows, I suppose. You count that last one in there. And a 5-lap dash to the end. Malik Ray is your winner, and he is headed to the round of 12. We'll go trackside, chat with the top finishers in just a moment. Before we do so, let's take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Malik Ray gets the win by 0.4 of a second over Mike T. Bruno. It is a P3 for Brandon Holder. Scotty Reinshield comes home 4th, and Marshall Berry in P5. We'll go trackside with them in just a moment. A P6 for Matt Kingsbury in this one. Brent Keith ends up 7th position. Great pickups for Sean Bolsick, your biggest mover. He gains nearly 27 positions to come home P8. Doug Lemons comes home 9th, and it is Paul Bliss who rounds out your top 10.
Finishing in 11th is going to be James Torrey in the number 2. 12th place, will be the number 52 of Kerry Allen Stewart. 13th, Doc Stout. And as a result of that incident, Race Control has EOL'd Sean Powell and Brad Neer to 14th and 15th, respectively. The last 2 drivers on the lead lap. From 16th all the way to the end of the field will be Timmy Logwood Jr. in 16th, 1 lap down, along with Ryan Lang, James Hickson in 18th, 19th, Gregory Thompson, and Brad Patterson in 20th position.
21st, we'll go to Keith Stewart. He started 2nd. Not a good day for him. He's going to bounce back next week at Richmond, as well as Sean Ryan, who started on pole but finished 22nd. 23rd, we'll go to Timothy McQueen. 24th, Bobby Everhart. Damian Plymesser, 25th. 26th, we'll go to Perry Snelson. 27th, Everett Lane. Tyler Hayes, 28th. Tim Marlowe, 29th. John Verga, P30. And rounding out your 31 truck field for this race at Las Vegas at Dow Lawrence.
Look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. We go trackside with the driver of the number 20 machine. Malik Ray is your race winner from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're trackside with him now. Malik, congratulations on the win. Victory lane certainly no strange place to you. You guys have tons of success over the course of the regular season, and you came into this with a healthy point spread, 35 points above the cut line, but I have no doubt that it feels good to just get it taken care of. You get the win. You're headed to the round of 12. Congrats.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun, that race. I enjoyed it a lot.
Tell us about how this one shakes out for you. You start in P4, you got a fast race truck, but all of a sudden we find ourselves with quite the varying strategies on 2 separate occasions tonight. Caution flag comes out towards the back half of some pit stops, and at the end of this one, you're trying to stretch out about a 14-second gap. Yellow comes out, means everybody's on fresh tires. You went for the 4, and you held on. Just talk us through the strategy and the decisions that you guys made.
On the first long run, I was trying to do, I think I was trying to do 60 and 60. Like, I was trying to just do a one-stop race. So that's why I fell off on the first stint. And then on the second stint, I pitted on 1 to green because I was trying to do that again. I was trying to go 60 laps, I think, because I just wasn't trying to have to, like, risk trying to pit under green and then a caution come out and then we get stuck a lap down.
Obviously, racing around these guys all season, you head into this bomb track fabrication playoffs. No stranger to what the competition is going to bring to you. The fact that obviously everybody's going to crank it up when you get to the playoffs. You guys are still able to find success, and again, you kind of just get the chill out for these next 2 weeks. Certainly, you guys are going to be going for race wins, I don't doubt, at Richmond and Charlotte, but how big is it to be able to get that free ticket in and to kind of be the one watching everybody else squirm under the microscope trying to make the cut now?
It's really huge because I know, like, going into the next couple of weeks, I can try different stuff. So, or me and my team can try different stuff on sets, and we don't really have to, worry about the results too much because we already know we're locked into the next round.
Obviously, going forwards now, Richmond, Charlotte don't mean a ton. What do you look for in these next 2 weeks? Doesn't matter if you finish first in them, doesn't matter if you finish last in them. The result's going to be the same. You go racing at Dover to kick off the next round. So what can you get out of these next couple of weeks of value?
Just see if we can pick up some new stuff on the set, see if we can learn anything from Richmond and Charlotte, and see if we can take it on over to Dover.
Of course, we look forward to catching all of those. Dover comes up on October the 10th, but Richmond, Charlotte next couple of weeks to close out this round of Malik. It was a long, hard-fought night. I'm sure it was stressful at the end, so we'll let you jet out of here. But before we do, the sponsors and the shout-outs, all of those good folks who made that 20 machine so fast all year and continues to power you now into the playoffs.
I just want to thank Nexus for their help and JDR Graphics for him making the truck. And Kick-Ass Beef Jerky and Ashton Crowder for his help with the set. And you guys broadcasting, I really appreciate it.
It was a ton of fun watching the action tonight, and it was a good look at number 20 Toyota that we saw a lot of up front this evening. We appreciate your time again, Malik. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck. Something tells me we're not going to have to wait till Dover to hear more from you, so best of luck at Richmond, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks. I'll see you guys later.
He's your race winner from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Malik Ray comes home with a checkered flag tonight. It is a P2 for Mike Bruno, and the questions are going to linger of what could have been. It's still a great result for the driver of the 19 Chevy Silverado. Trackside with him is Gary.
Yeah, staying here with the number 19 driver of Mike Bruno, and unfortunately he got the best of him caught on that restart, but nonetheless though he still managed to power through and held his own in the top 10 throughout the entire race, even though you are not in the playoffs, Mike. Well, you did an amazing job, led a few laps and stretched out, I believe, that second point in the race. My goodness, how in the heck did you even manage to stay up in the top 10 there? Because that was very, very amazing.
To be honest with you, the setup was just amazing. It was a great short one, but it was even better long run. After about 25, 30 laps, it just came to life. And definitely didn't want to see the second to last or the last caution. Would have got interesting with Malik there for sure. I don't know if we would have got to him, but yeah, that last one, I felt like I might have been able to get to Malik there, but caution fell and just didn't work out. But second place is good nonetheless, and had a good night.
And throughout this entire race, as well as the track has already cooled back down to its original race start of 99 degrees, it went up to 103 maximum in the middle of this race, just a little bit towards the end there. Throughout this race, though, aside from the track temperature, though, you had to choose, of course, different lines and manage a little bit of lap traffic at times. How'd you somehow manage to make your way through that and think about lap after lap?
Just had to be patient every lap. I know there was a lot of people on a lot of different strategies, and some guys were trying to stretch it. Some guys were on the same strategy as us. So just had to be real careful coming up on lap cars, stuff like that, because we were so much faster than some guys on older tires. It got scary a few times there, but was able to keep it out of the wall and out of everybody else and have a good finish there. So I'm happy with it.
Of course, even though you are not really involved in the playoffs, any thoughts as we head into Richmond Raceway next week?
Yeah, I actually love that track. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully run as good as I did there tonight, or run as good there as I did tonight. Yeah, not in the chase, so unfortunately I started a little late in the season, so would have been nice to be part of it, but definitely going to try and still go out there and get some W's if I can and make all the best of the season for what I can get here.
Well, before we go ahead and let you go celebrate with your team with that second place finish, we're going to open the floor to you to give any shout outs or to have you give any shout outs or thank anybody who makes it happen in that number 19 machine.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank my team, Gen X Racing, our sponsor, AMSOIL. I want to thank Sean, Scotty, Corey, all those guys on the team with me. Sean did an awesome job this week. Let's see, I want to thank Keith for the league, and thank you guys for the broadcast. You guys do a great job.
We definitely appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations, Bruno, on your second place finish here tonight.
Thanks, Gary.
And up next with our third place finisher of Brandon Holder is going to be Trevin Valderrama.
Down here trackside with number 5. Now, coming into tonight's event, obviously, this track is very difficult when it does have a lot of heat in it, and tonight was no exception. What was really your concern? Was it going to be keeping those tires under you, or was it going to be, just trying to get that fuel hit marker and just continue to try to make as many or as less pit stops as you could?
Well, I had to be real conservative at the start. Once the rubber built up, the truck came in a lot better, so I had to really tiptoe at the start of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It was exciting to watch, and yourself is in the bomb track fabrication playoffs, and what track are you really looking forward to out of these next three, Richmond and Charlotte?
I like them both. I've ran good at both of them, so really looking forward to both of them, actually.
Absolutely, and throughout the season, how difficult was it to get you to a position to be inside of these playoff championships?
Well, I actually won the first race at Daytona, so I was locked in from the start. So I was able to help the teammates try to get in, and we got the whole team in. So we've had a real good season.
It's always nice to lock yourself in on that first race. Now, before we let you go and celebrate, any sponsor shout-outs, who gets the job done for that number 5 machine?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank Steed Brothers Trucking. Kevin Steed has helped me out a whole bunch. Sim Racing Apps, pitboxes.com. Also want to welcome y'all to the series. I think y'all will be a great asset to the series. I like listening to y'all's broadcast. And thank Bomb Track Fabrication for coming on for the playoffs, and AMSOIL for coming on too. This series is getting some big time sponsors, and we really appreciate it.
We appreciate all the racing that you guys do. It was a very entertaining 133 laps. We're really excited to see what else comes to the table from you guys. But that was the number 5 of Brandon Holder, finishing 3rd place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll shuffle down to the pit lane as well. I believe trackside now with the driver of the number 27 machine. It is a P4 for Scotty Reinshield. Scotty, congratulations. A good result for you. The truck is a little worse for wear, but compared to some how the night ended for some of your fellow bomb track fabrication playoff drivers, I think that you'll be very happy with the way this one rounds out. It's not that free ticket into the next round, but a top 5 puts you in a good spot.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't the truck to beat tonight anyway, so at the end of the day, 4th is probably where it was looking like I was going to finish, so happy that that's where it ended up. And I was really worried when that last caution came out for the exact reason that happened, and I thought, seeing Brad sideways coming at me, I thought I was going to get collected up in that, so luckily I was able to keep it going enough to keep my position and in the race. It was a good race, pretty low-key for me, nothing terribly exciting.
You took a shot off of the right front there, but the truck kept going, and obviously a critical moment there because you're able to keep on going to get the result. Brad gets in the accident. He's the one that hit you, and then he ends up coming home 15th position. So sometimes it doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt, I should say, to have a little bit of luck helping you out. But obviously the race truck had speed in it. You mentioned not being the truck, though, to beat. Where did you feel like that truck was lacking just a tad bit compared to some of the faster guys?
Well, aside from Malik, I think the other two were Mike and Sean, my teammates. So we're all in the same setup, basically the same truck. So it was what was sitting in the seat was the difference for me, probably.
You guys have been racing against each other all season long. Of course, you make it into these playoffs courtesy of that success in the regular season. You got to enter this opening round with those 10 bonus points. Put you ranked 3rd coming into tonight. A good finish here. Certainly going to have you well above the cut line. There's going to be a lot of drivers clawing at you over the next 2 weeks. And you look at the calendar and you see a place like a Richmond coming up next. A short track, certainly a place in which anything can happen. Do you play the numbers game? Do you maybe back out of a fight for a position and say, you know what, I'll take this top 5 or a top 10 instead of looking at that little bit extra out of fear of making a mistake? Or do you feel like that would just hurt you and you might accidentally stumble on a mistake, and is it going to be business as usual? How do you plan to attack these next 2 weeks working from an advantage?
My plan is, unless I'm in contention for a win at the end of the race, to just try to play it safe. I kind of figured if I finish top 10 or so every race, that should get me through this round and maybe even the next. So I'm not planning on trying to kill myself for a win. I'm going to try to play the consistent approach and get there that way. But if late in the race I'm right there battling for the lead, I might change that plan.
course, Richmond and Charlotte going to be very different from each other, but we look forward to seeing what you and that number 27 team are able to make work. Scotty, a long night. We'll let you jet. Before we do, anybody you want to say hi to?
Oh, for sure. I would like to thank my team, Gen X, sponsors, AMSOIL, and all the guys that work hard for us. You know, Sean really worked hard on the setup, and Corey, crew chief, and us, and you know, that's makes a big difference for us. And you know, thank my family and friends watching, and Keith and the Contender series, and you guys broadcasting, making it possible for everybody to watch. So thank you guys.
We're happy to have you along with us, Scotty. We appreciate your time post-race. Congratulations. A solid result. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks.
Driver the number 27 machine is Scotty Reinshield comes home in fourth tonight. And I believe also trackside P5 finisher tonight is Marshall Berry. I think Gary's got him.
Yeah, I've caught up with the driver of the 05 who barely somehow got a front row seat and managed to avoid that wreck just in front of them with about 2 laps to go. And Marshall, you after that little bit of a scare, I'm pretty sure you are very, very relieved that you are no longer, at least by default coming into this race, shown on the outside looking in.
Yeah, we did exactly what we needed to do. I mean, I got a top 5 and got some breathing room. But that was a scary last 2 laps.
And that was pretty exciting. So, of course, throughout this race, what was your strategy pretty much as the track was heating up and cooling down just a few degrees, and some drivers who were running with different lines? You had some green flag pit stops about twice, I believe. So pretty sure that you weren't really prepared for some of those situations.
I was ready for the long run. I mean, I expected one. I didn't expect it to be as many long runs as there were. But yeah, just gotta keep, pacing myself and make sure I didn't overdrive the car and put it in the wall or spin it out. And getting on pit road here is pretty treacherous too, and was able to not spin it out getting on the pit road. And I mean, fought to top 5 from 20th. I mean, can't really complain.
Yeah, from actually 19th to 5th, but either way, that is very, very amazing. What are you looking forward to, or looking ahead for, at least as we head to Richmond and Charlotte in the next 2 weeks?
Well, I really enjoy the short tracks. I think they're kind of my niche, so hopefully I can knock out that first win at Richmond. But run really well at Charlotte too. The tracks coming up on the schedule, I think, really fit my driving style. So I'm excited. I think I can go deep in this. So I'm excited.
And we are also excited for the next few weeks as well. Before we go ahead and let you go, who makes it happen for you? Who would you like to give a shout out to for that 05 machine?
Oh, there's a bunch of guys. First of all, I mean, my teammates, guys at American Motorsports, they're awesome. Intensity as well. They're all fun to race with. Sim racing apps, pitboxes.com. My sponsor in the world, Century 21. And then, Bomb Track Fabrication, they came on for the series this week. That's awesome. So thanks to them and you guys, LSRTV and AMSOIL for sponsoring the series. So
certainly a pleasure for us to start broadcasting this series as well. Definitely going to be a very exciting playoff season. We're going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations again, Marshall Berry, for your 5th place finish.
Thanks, guys.
A big thanks, top 5 finishers, for giving us some time. Post-race, Malik Ray, your race winner, Mike Bruno, Brandon Holder, Scotty Reinshield, and Marshall Berry for giving us their time, and of course all 31 drivers for being on track this evening. And it's funny because Trip of the Playoffs just now officially underway. We've already got 2 drivers headed to the next round, and they are arguably the 2 championship favorites. Powell and Malik Ray already headed to the round of 12, means that they get to put their feet up and watch as for the next next 2 weeks at Charlotte and Richmond, we get to watch what ends up being 14 drivers fight for 10 remaining spots. Again, 4 drivers get cut every single round, just like it is with the Monster Energy Cup Series side of things. But coming at it tonight, fantastic racing at Vegas. Again, really cut down on what we saw earlier in the season. But I think Richmond is always a question mark, and that one's going to be coming up next Wednesday here on LSRTV. And can't wait to see what the short track brings. If you've got any grudges that you've been holding, if somebody wronged you in the previous 26 weeks, we might see something happen about that next week.
And yeah, you know, Sean Powell and Malik Ray are showing us why they deserve to be in these playoffs and why they're the top contenders. Great job done by both of them tonight. You know, great job done by everybody keeping the trucks under themselves for the main part. You know, I'm really excited to see the rest of this playoffs go along. You have Richmond, Charlotte, and then one track I'm also looking forward to is the start of the third round of 8. October 31st at Watkins Glen. 51 miles there, so really excited to see what happens at that track. You know, just great grab bag mix of tracks here for these playoffs.
Of course, we'll see some other excited ones as we get later on. The Talladega thrown in there, the likes of Watkins Glen, which will kick off the round of 8. Of course, Homestead all the way at the end of it, but our focus really now turns to Richmond. Charlotte's more of a track, I think, area that it's going to come down to some circumstances. Those intermediate racetracks, more drivers can tend to be good on them, and I think the margin's going to be a lot less driver to driver. There's a lot of drivers that love Richmond. We heard that from some of the drivers we talked to post-race. There's also a lot of drivers who do not like Richmond, and next week's going to be a struggle, but there's always the chance someone plays spoiler, always the chance that one of our bomb track fabrication playoff drivers wins and gets right into the round of 12. We'll find out as we get back at it next Wednesday.
Yeah, more than likely. Apologies for that. Anyway, next Wednesday, yeah, Richmond. Personally, it's just a track that it just depends for me because that's a track I both love and hate. Love it because it's, of course, short track racing, and then hate it because, well, it's Richmond. And even on the real life side of things, Richmond has produced a lot of action, and we are definitely going to be seeing a lot of that next Wednesday for the halfway portion, essentially, for this round of 16.
And we hope to see you then as we continue to work it around to 16. But until next time, that does it for us here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. On behalf of our entire team at LSRTV and for the crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Gary Weaver, Trevin Valderrama, and a big thanks to our director, Hugo Louise, for bringing us to you this evening. We want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Malik Ray. He's your race winner at Vegas in the AMSOIL 200, and he is headed to the next round of the Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. We hope you catch us next time at LSRTV. Get a full broadcast schedule at our website at livesimracing.com, and make sure you stay up to date with us on social media, facebook.com/LSRTV official, and you can follow us on Twitter at LSRTV. We will catch you next time when the series continues to the Richmond Raceway. That one is next Wednesday, September the 26th. That race at every race at the eSpeed Contender Series can be found right here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night from Las Vegas.